There's always another job, isn't there? If you can remember, this Malawi 110 had a snorkel on it, but it had a 200 TDI snorkel on it, not a 300 TDI one. So somebody had made this plastic adapter and held it on with screws and silicone. Now yesterday I had a god awful job getting the silicone off that. As you know, it's like body filler, it's so easy to put on and apply, but a bugger to get off. So with patience and petrol and a scraper, a plastic scraper, I managed to get it off because he wants this repainting. Now I'm not going to promise a first class job because I've got some paint left from when I did the inside of the bulkhead, you know, under the bonnet, but I can't guarantee it's a match because, as you can see, the original paint on the 300 TDI was cream. Well, it was white, but it had a bit of yellow in it, where this is white, and it's not quite the same. So hopefully we can match it. So the problem being is this: I'm not going to use like body filler. Body filler should only be used for dents, not for holes. And the other problem is I've already got crown rust proofing shoved up there. So even if I put body filler in the holes, I'm not sure if it's going to work. I'm not sure if it's going to stick. So what am I going to do? Well, an old trick. Originally I was going to put some solid rivets in, countersunk solid rivets. However, I can't find I only had a few left and I think they've all gone anyway. But what I've got is these little chaps here. You see those? Those are countersunk pop rivets 1/8. I used to use them when I used to join body panels together before I could TIG weld and things like this. And you need a countersunk or countersink like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to countersink the holes, put the pop rivets in, and hopefully they will make a barrier between the outside. And then all of a sudden, all I have to do is put a little smear of body filler across and sand it, and it should be okay. Should be. Let me zoom in a bit and I'll show you the sort of problem. There you go, you see. There's holes all over the place. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Bit of a problem. Let's see how we come on. I had a little bit of a problem with the pop rivets because they are quite long and this metal is very thin. So what I got was some of these washers, specifically for pop rivets, 1/8. Put them behind it and it allowed it to clinch up because the hole that was drilled originally was just that little bit too large. Anyway, that's that done. Put the top on then so they don't fall off. Next thing, we're going to use some brake cleaner and clean off the exterior paint. It is quite filthy, but you'll see why, because we're going to put some masking on it, and we want the masking to stick. Now we're going to have a particularly problem around this arch here because it's not very flexible at all. Usually what I do is push the arch down and put some tape on top and hopefully we can do it. But like I said, they've painted the whole car white and then just put some gloss on the top, which looks like, oh, well, looks like feces, doesn't it? So we'll get some tape on the edge and tape down there and mask it off before we do anything, because we're going to sand these rivet heads down because they are standing out a little bit too much. I'd rather have that than, you know, too far recessed. Sand them down and then we'll put some filler on. Right, I've run some masking around it. I've double masked it, and you might be wondering why I'm using such a broad tape instead of some narrow when you're doing bends. Well, I haven't got any. To get a nice sharp line in these edges here, just slightly overlap the tape and run a knife down it, cut it off, nice sharp line. Now the reason I've doubled it is because we're going to sand it. We're going to try and blend the paint in here. I don't think it's going to work, but it's got two chances. And then once we get it in the shop, I'm working outside today because it's nice to listen to the birds and get stung on my bloody nose again, like I did with a bloody mosquito the other day. I'm going to sand down those heads, and then we'll put a little bit of filler in the holes, and hopefully that's all it'll need. I took the majority of the heads off with an 80 grit flap wheel, because it's nice and precise, if you see what I mean, rather than the orbital sander. I've got that one to do a little bit more, but then you see this paint crease here, then I can come across this once I've got some filler in and sand it down with the orbital sander. Hopefully that'll work. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to wash off again this with some brake cleaner, get all that dust and grease off. It's unbelievable how much is on there after grinding. Body filler. I'm using just a very super fine filler. The formula should be a pea to an egg, so 1 egg of body filler to a pea-sized piece of hardener, and use that proportion so it's half to half, you know, quarter to quarter. Any tips I could give you? Metal spreaders, always metal spreaders. Don't get the plastic ones, they're a waste of money. And what we're going to do is just simply put a little bit on that there, like that, build it up a little bit, just like that. That's what we want. Now you'll see there's an air bubble behind it. We're not too concerned about that, it'll come out. And remember, the more filler you put on, the more you've got to sand off. Now we might have to do this a couple of times. There's bloody air in there, look. Where's that come from? There you go. Right. Now being a nice warm day, this goes off pretty damn quick. There we go. It's going off already, look. Look at that. Ah, hurry up, get in there. It's only first coat, but my God, look at that. Gone off. Just while I was talking to you. Oh well, now clean up straight away. So now we're going to use our orbital sander to sand it down. I'm using a 180 because this is a bit rough and I want it off fast. But you can see here I've put my regulator in line. This is a Ingersoll Rand orbital sander. It's a really nice one to use because it's polycarbonate or something, not polyurethane, I don't know. But it hasn't got a speed control on it. So let's, for example, if I was to just use this flat out, like that, it's too much. Doesn't need much. Alright, it doesn't need much at all. Now I know I should have a mask on, but I can't talk to you with the mask on. It's just like being with COVID thing again, isn't it? Just gentle. Now, there's a big step on here. It's like the Happy Mondays. Anyway, there's a step there. I'm going to try and ease that back, but it's really, really deep. I don't know how I'm going to do that. But you can see, you don't want to cut through to your rivet. But I'm going to have a bit of fun with that. So let me get on with that. After sanding it down a little bit, it's quickly become apparent that I'm going to have to fill all round here. Because there is so much paint on it. The paint is so thick, there's a step here and here. This here you can blend, you can see the different layers and you can see how much primer they've put on. So I'm going to have to mix some filler. I'm just going to rough it up again with some, I think probably an 80 grit to get a good key. And sand this and fill this, because it's all over the place. There's a great big step here. Here's not so bad, but there's steps in it. Bugger! I knew this would be a hell of a job. You know, I thought about that. I don't know why I'm talking to myself. Greasy off your fingers. Not good. With the filler now dry, and you can see I put quite a bit in. I'm going to sand it again, This time I'm going to use a 180. Now, years ago, we could only get stick-on discs. They were bloody awful because you had a plastic pad here and they wouldn't stick twice, if you see what I mean. Whereas these, being Velcro, you can pull them off and quickly put another one on. No problem, you can keep using them over and over again. If you see what I mean, you don't waste anything. So let me sand this. Now it's going to be a bit tricky because I got a little bit of fill a bit close to the edge there, but I think by putting a level on there, and again it's a lovely warm day so it's drying very quick, so I might have to keep putting a little bit more on. I won't film it because I want to put my dust mask on. Well, I got it sanded down, but you can probably see there's a little bit here, tiny bits here, some little pinholes, but most importantly down here at the bottom, where are you? There, down here there's a little dimple, and that's where the spot weld was. So you're sort of in a bit of a dilemma with yourself. Do I hook it out? I'm going to just fill that up. All the rest's nice and smooth. You know, it's blended in really nice. But this is the stuff I'm using. It's a body glaze. It's a super fine body filler. Body fillers come in different types. You can get some really cheap stuff. Stay away from that, because when they make this stuff they do it in a vacuum to take all the air out. Because if you get really cheap body filler, it's just sort of like talcum powder with resin, and they just throw it in and stir it. If you can get the vacuum stuff, it's even better because it doesn't leave pinholes. That's because I didn't put any filler in that bit there, that's nothing. So all I've got to do now is keep going over this and fill all the little pinholes in, blow them all out with your gun, and just take your time. But that's typical of a repair. You think it's only going to be filling a couple of pop rivets in, and it isn't. It gets bigger and bigger. You end up spraying the whole bloody wing, you know. But again, I haven't got enough paint. I don't know. I haven't got enough paint for it to do the whole wing. And it seems a bit of a shame because it's not too bad, but I don't know if it's going to blend in now. When I'm looking at it, you can see some curtains across here where they've really laced into the paint. I'm not going to take them out. But you can see how you can start off with a little pop rivet here and then you end up getting bigger and bigger. It's one of the problems with bodywork, I'm afraid. So there you go, all done. The next thing is we're going to put some polyester spraying filler on the repair here and mask it off properly, mask all the car off. But we're going to do that in my shop. We did this outside because it's a lovely day and it dries quick, and I have a lot of things to move. So let's get that moved and let's get on to doing some painting. Right, now we're back in the shop. What I've done is I've masked off the area. We're going to use a high volume low pressure gun, this one, just a tiny one. We've rubbed down all the area with ultra clear cream and then degreased. In here is polyester spraying filler. This is the catalyzer. The tin's a bit too big because I can't carry it. But Evercoat 41 is some product to die for, or it will kill you. Polyester spraying filler makes a fantastic barrier between repairs on body filler. Sometimes when you do a repair on body filler, you sort of build up with primer and things like this, and then after a few weeks you'll see what's called a shrink mark around your repair. Looks pretty awful. With this stuff you can build it up and then sand it and it won't show any marks. It's a long process patching a hole, and people don't realise how long it takes. But the downside about this stuff is, I find, unless you haven't got an ultraviolet heating system to flash it off quickly, it takes all day. So it's now 10 to 2 on Sunday, double time Sunday I think. I'm going to put a flash of this on, and then we're going to watch England win defiantly, as if. Yes, it's the football time, so we're going to watch the football this afternoon. I say we, just me. So let me get my mask on and let's get this sprayed up. I'll come back and do a second coat.